Welcome everyone. Uh, we are back with another session on taking disruption with blockchain by Aman Sanduja. So he's a co-founder at Zubi.io and he's a trainer at Upgrade and basically a blockchain expert and the right man to get the knowledge of blockchain. And next to you, Aman.
All right, thank you so much, Mayank, for having me. And of course, in this pandemic, a lot of people are doing initiatives and taking webinars across the globe. So I was fortunate to speak to a number of students, which I would have not been done if I have to travel from one college to another. So thank you so much, and of course, all the best wishes to the participants who are uh, doing some disruptions in this hackathon, which is by Hackjaipur. So quickly about myself is I'm a co-founder with Zubi. I've had a chance to start a couple of companies before this, and I'm a TEDx speaker. I also share a board of studies seat and in Bennett University and at MIT University. Like Mike said, I'm also a faculty and a professor on upgrad. I have worked with Google, Piramul, and HCL before that. So far, I have taught 5,000 plus students, researchers, scholars on blockchain, both in online as well as in person. I was one of the early adopters of cryptocurrency and blockchain in India. So my Google journey is very interesting. I happened to work in Google for about 8 to 9 months, and then entrepreneurship bug did not let me continue that. So I stepped it down. I started my organization, but couldn't take it further. So we'll talk about it. So before talking to you regarding blockchain, I wanted to talk about what's happening around the globe. So if you look at this keyword is very much trending these days. It's called social distance. Now, social distance education is also happening. So let's take an example at this point in time. Earlier, it would have been difficult to attend classes, or it would have been difficult to attend workshops in possibly shorts, sitting on a bedroom, or various other things at your own comfort, maybe sipping a water, maybe sipping a Coke. But at this point in time, it's very much possible. So the distance between a professor and a student has been replaced or bridged by what you call Zooms of the world, Google Meets, StreamYard, or different other platforms which we are using. And every other industry is definitely disrupted, and we are not really sure whether we will be able to go back to the normal. So there was a world before COVID, which is BC, and then there will be AD, which is after disruption, which COVID has created. So supply chains have been disrupted. Healthcare is definitely the healthcare or medical facilities have left the hospitals and have started coming towards your home. Same is travel. Possibly the travel industry and the hospitality industry is very much disrupted, or in comparison to other industry, the the what you call the impact has been significant. Same as Hollywood and Bollywood. If you look at across the globe, people have now shifted from theaters to OTT platforms. Your Amazon Prime, Netflix, and other platforms are picking up where you can watch content as per your own discretion and comfort. And otherwise, it was very much difficult earlier because you have a specific slot to go and watch a movie. So just to quickly give a background what's happening. So how do we envision your career when you were actually 10 years old? So people have thought that I would become a scientist, I would become an astronaut, I would become a doctor, a painter. So we all asked this question to our younger ones, or we were asked this question by our parents or friends, that what you would do when you would become what you call 25, 30, by the time you understand what's going to happen. So we all had some different aspirations, but if you look and reflect back, those aspirations are not really common. So like when I was in my school days, people used to ask, what would you become? So I used to say that I wanted to become a doctor. They said, why? I said, I'm getting a sense of feel that it's very relevant to treat. Just a second. It's relevant to treat people, and of course, you make a lot of money out of it. And you, once you're a doctor, you by default take care of your health. So, and we have never imagined office spaces. Now look at definitely remote work is prevailing, and we have never imagined that what would happen to the large infrastructure. So there's a company called Buffer in San Francisco. In 2013-14, they have decided that we don't want people to come to the office. People can work from their home. But there are challenges on working from home. One is how do we manage the productivity with our life versus the work which we are doing. and it becomes a challenge for all those married people and people who have younger kids, because you have to take care of them, plus you do not really able to significantly devote your time towards the office work. So there are things which we have seen with a shift, and this shift is prevailing because one is due to the COVID, second is we are moving towards a very focused world of emerging technology. So what do we do with all the large and tall buildings which we have designed? Most of them would not be 100% occupied now. So all these questions should bring in a curiosity amongst you that what we would be doing as we go further. And we never knew that possibly uh, this would be possible to work next to the beach or possibly in your vacation. So all these things are coming up, and your commute. I certainly question myself that was it a requirement to travel so much? Like I have been to not many countries, so right now the work is possible. So was it a really need or requirement to commute across the globe by spending so much amount of money? Because your work can happen. Of course, you would not be able to touch and feel the monuments, or if you're going for a vacation, but definitely if you wanted to see it across the globe, the Google Maps gives you that facility. And have we envisioned our city that what would happen after 10, 15, 20 years down the lane? Urbanization is picking up. So all these changes and shifts should bring in a question back in you that where would the cities, companies, organization, ecosystem be after 10, 15, 20 years down the lane? And if you look at technologically, exponential growth is happening. With NASA Apollo, the kind of a iPhone had the processing power which was 120 million times faster than the NASA Apollo, which was the first mission which went to the space. And the cost is decreasing. If you look at NASA Apollo has spent multi-million dollars on doing the infrastructure, but with Apple, we all know that it was somewhere priced between $1,200 to $1,500, which is 70 to 1 lakh rupees. So all these things are picking up because you have an exponential growth. And 1976, you have had a first digital camera for Kodak. Of course, Kodak cannot reinnovate themselves with the shift of technology which is happening, so they have to shut down their operation. And in 2014, fast forward to close to 20 years down the lane, you have greater than 10 megapixel camera which weighs very less. Earlier it was 3.75 pounds, which is close to if you take a pound of 400 grams, so it was close to 12 kgs, and now you have less than 0.03 pounds. So all these advancements are picking up, and of course it was 100 times better in terms of quality, cheaper, and resolution was way too much than the previous cameras which we have seen. Possibly you were in a liquid form, your parents might have seen it, and these kind of things which we have never imagined. So if you look at, there are shifts in the technology. One is the linear shift and second is the exponential shift. So the linear shift was happening with Kodak in 1996 to 2012, where they were inventing certain things which they could meet from the customer point of view, but Instagram had made it so possible that people do not really have to buy the DSLR at this point in time. They can just instantly click and upload it, and then they can get some reviews from the people or their friends. So this exponential shift is happening. Same is in the hospitality industry. If you look at Hyatt Hotel, what they could do it in about 30, 40, 50 years, Airbnb could do it in about less than 10 years. And this shift, if you look at, is observatory as we start moving towards the consumer adoption. So the shift will be possible. Same if you look at setting up colonies in India in terms of real estate versus what SpaceX is trying to do, setting up colonies on Mars. So this shift, if you look at 10, 15, 20 years down the lane, nobody has imagined then starting a company from cloud first to mobile first to AI first, and then what kind of a companies would next be. So you have to keep on inventing and keep on bringing up the new solution which is beneficial for the consumer which you're trying to tap in, and you have to give them certain solution which they possibly have never imagined. So let's take an example of Henry Ford. So if Henry Ford would have been out in the market and started asking people, what do you want? People would have said, I want faster horses. So if you want faster horses, then you would not be able to come up with an accurate solution which a consumer is looking for. So it goes in a lot of dimensions: psychological, technological, economic, and other possibilities, and then you design a solution for the customer which he really likes it. So what is this going on? So if you look at Moore's law, so he said that price performance of computer would double in every 18 to 24 months, and so is the cost would decrease. And Intel chips, Qualcomm chips, if you look at the price performances are picking up and the cost is decreasing, which is why you are seeing the phones priced at 15,000, 20,000 rupees, wherein earlier it was very difficult to buy those smartphones in less than 50, 60, 70,000 rupees. So these things are picking up because a lot of people have started working towards price performance. People started working towards an alternatives which can actually make the life of a consumer easy. Just quickly on the revolution, first industrial revolution, as you all know that it was towards what you call manpower movement. Second was towards getting the locomotives. Third was towards mechanical to digital. And fourth, industrial revolution is definitely going to be a combination of emerging technologies wherein blockchain, AI, IoT going to pick up. And if you look at mechanical to digital revolution started happening with the advent of internet. So as the internet started picking up, now the communication across the borders have certainly been reduced. And now if you look at global internet, close to 3 billion users across the globe, which is half of the world population, uses the internet. But in India, there is a different ground reality. Right now, 820 million people are suffering from hunger worldwide, and a significant population is in Asia. And 50% of the people do not really have a formal banking, what you call banking awareness, or do not really have the formal bank account structure so that they can use it. Most of them, again, belongs to India and China. 25% of the drugs are counterfeit in India. You don't really know that if you're buying a paracetamol, is it really authentic or is it a fake drug which I'm consuming? Same if you look at in India, close to 18% of the world's population, or 18% of this number, which is 50% of 3 billion, close to 190, 200 million people in India do not really have a bank account. So if you're talking about financial inclusion, then would we be able to achieve financial inclusion in 5, 7, 10 years down the lane? And if you look at the level of what you call transparency, we do not really have. We all have contributed to Kerala relief funds. We all contribute to different disaster which happens across different states. But do we have a surety that this money is going to right pockets, or this money is going for a right set of views? Let's take an example. Kerala relief fund, we all have contributed through Paytm. But how do we trust, or how do we ensure that this money has been really transferred from Paytm to the end user, which was really looking for certain benefit? So these questions, when it comes in front of you in terms of counterfeit, in terms of what you call, you do not really have a surety, transparency, and you're trusting the centralized institution, then it becomes a challenge, because we are right now in a digital ecosystem. Then I'll talk about it. What are the problems of physical versus digital ecosystem? So 25% of the drugs are counterfeit in India, which means we don't really know what we are consuming. Same is for organic fruits and vegetable. Like we buy premium products in terms of organic fruits and vegetable, and we don't really know that this product I am paying a premium for, is it really authentic, is it really organic? Because I need to keep a track of organic fruits and vegetables in terms of whether there has been no pesticide fertilizer being used in terms of the growth of this crop, and the end-to-end journey from farm to fork has been clearly maintained. So when these question comes in front of you, you started asking like, am I really being benefited from the product premium I'm paying for? Same, I usually question, my watchman also wears a US Polo t-shirt. So how do I trust that US Polo t-shirt which I am buying is the authentic one, or is the original one, rather than my watchman is mine? The other example I would like to share, if people understand Delhi market, so there is a gray market called Gafar and Palika market. So one of the shoe manufacturing company reaches out to us and said that there are a lot of companies who wanted to, just a second. There are a lot of companies who are looking for what you call that people come to them with the authentic complaint of the product. So there is a company, I would name it. So there's a company called Bata in India. So they said, a lot of people buy it from Palika Bazaar or Gafar market, and they usually come to us that we want this shoe to be replaced, or we want this shoe to be what you call fixed, and we do not really have what you call the complete understanding or the visibility whether this product or shoe has been bought from Bata stores or has been bought from gray market. So these are the things which are happening in India. If you look at from a broader level, you do not really have an understanding, and then somebody who is buying a premium for do not really have a guarantee that is it the right product or is it authentic product or not. And 1 in 15 people suffer from identity fraud each year. So if you look at few days back, Unacademy was in news that a lot of email address along with certain databases was tampered or was being hacked. And similarly, Arogya Setu, there are about a large number of people who have downloaded Arogya Setu app, and we do not really have a surety what's happening with the data which we have provided. Same is, let's take an example. You go and sign in and check into a hotel. You have your Aadhaar card, PAN card. What do they do is they check that you are the person who is providing the Aadhaar card. They do the photocopy of the Aadhaar card or PAN card and give you a room. But they do not really have a validation to check whether this Aadhaar card or PAN card which you are providing is authentic, or is it real, or is it a fake identity. And second is, if I have checked out from a hotel, my identity should stay along with me. So it stays along with the hotel. I do not really have a visibility what would happen if I've signed out or checked out from a hotel. Same in a bank. So let's take an example. If I'm applying for a bank loan, if my loan is getting rejected at the last stage, how many of us have asked the papers back from a bank in terms of your identity, in terms of various other details? So all these questions remain unanswered in the market when you try and use the utility services across the sectors. Same is in the healthcare department. If somebody in your family gets admitted to a hospital, they have the complete medical history records in terms of which disease you were suffering from, which drug or which medicine was provided to you, along with your bank details, along with your passport, or if you're an international patient, along with your PAN card, Aadhaar card. All these things remain in a hospital, right? So similarly with the insurance companies, if you have somebody has already passed away from the life, and all this data should be deleted because he is no more. Second is, the medical history and the identity history belongs to you, not to an institution you are sharing with them, right? They should only have a mechanism that this identity or this information which you're providing is authentic or is valid. So I did an experiment. I went to a hotel chain in Delhi. I tampered my Aadhaar card, changed the Aadhaar card number, changed my address, and they could allocate me a hotel room, which is definitely questionable if you do not really have what you call a genuine or an authentic valid identity. And 18 lakh jobs are expected to lost by artificial intelligence by 2020. So the hard reality of Indian engineering colleges is close to 15 lakh engineers graduate every year, which is 1.5 million out of 10,000 engineering colleges, and 80% or 85% of them are unemployable. Most of the colleges try and flash it out that we have had 100% placement, but placement do not mean the right set of skill set you have to work in an organization. When I said unemployable, because they do not really have the right set of skills. And if you fast forward from 2020 to 2030, because of COVID and other situations, people would be looking for a very specific fundamental skills in terms of emerging technologies. And we specifically believe blockchain, AI, IoT, cybersecurity gonna pick up. Hence, we are starting out a course on Zubi. You can check it out, what all courses we have, because we wanted to upskill the youth of the nation so that they can become the creator of a technology rather than just a consumer of the technology. So these are some of the what you call questions in front of all of us. First, we have looked at the technology is evolving. Second is the questions in terms of the utility or the transactions which we are doing. How do we have a trust? How do we have a surety? Our honorable former Prime Minister, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, used to say, if center is transferring 100 rupees, then the beneficiary only ends up receiving 7 rupees at the last mile, and 93 rupees, which is 93% of the corruption, is there in between. So if these things start prevailing over a period of time, you don't really know what's going to happen in terms of financial inclusion, what's going to happen in terms of as the money movement start happening from center to state, because you have a lot of intermediaries or you have a lot of middlemen in between, and you do not really have a visibility what's they gonna do with your money. So direct benefit transfers has able to curb that. And similarly, there are a lot of challenges in terms of various other sector. Let's take an example. One of the other industries is the remittance industry. If your friend, if your brother, sister, or anyone working abroad, they usually tend to send the money. They usually tend to send the money. Just a second. Just a second. All right. So sorry about that. So if you look at, I was talking about remittance as an example. If your friends, if your brother sister working abroad, then they usually tend to send the money to their native country. So what happens over here? The large amount of a cost is being deducted in terms of a transaction fees, and you have large number of what you call the transactions happening across the globe, and India is the second largest in terms of the population working abroad. So if this happens, that if you end up paying large amount of fees in transferring the money from one country to another, then there's large amount of money you end up losing. So I am just sharing an example. In my previous organization, we have had a contract with a company in US, and they have transferred us $1,000, and we end up receiving only $980. $20 have been deducted. So $20, if I'm paying, which is 1,500 rupees, I'm paying for settling the transaction fees across the globe. Then imagine the number of transactions happening across the globe and the kind of a fees the banks or institutions are making. So this is causing a large amount of a problem in each and every institution or each and every industry which we would be talking about, or which you usually try and what you call transact with them. So, and India's unemployment rate is 6.1%. And with COVID, you all know that how many people have been laid off. 29 lakh people in the age group of 21 to 30 has been asked to step down from an organization, because you do not require the large amount of a workforce which you used to have in terms of an operations or daily physical activities, because now a shift is happening from physical to digital. But when we are having a shift in from physical to digital, there are a lot of challenges as well. So what happens is that you have a three phases of creation of a product. You have the get to know the tech, what would work, and you have to find a product market fit, and then you have to pour on some money to actually take it to the large set of users or large set of people in the market. And if you look at, there are actually four emerging S curves to consider. One is you have the autonomy, then you want to mix with a mixed reality, possibly cryptocurrencies would come in terms of payments, and then artificial intelligence. This is just for your reference, and then I would move ahead. And then nobody has imagined that what would be the company's ideal. Is it the one I'm working for? Is it the one I'm working with? Or how long I would be working? Because gig economies are picking up. Now you have the short-term contracts jobs. You have what you call paper work done. So you have Upwork, you have other websites which are providing you short-term opportunities. And then you do not really have imagined that the shops or the journal stores would change over a period of time as well. Like we used to go to the journal stores to buy certain things, and this was a journal store in 1975 in US. And then right now somebody else is picking on your behalf and then delivering it at your home. We have seen grocers now. Swiggy is also into groceries and other things. So the shift is happening very rapidly, and the technologies are changing exponentially. And if you look at, technology is changing, but the people remains the same. And the people, I would say that people consumption habits or people adoption habit would change as well in terms of a technological adoption. Like my father never used to go to a what you call never used to believe in an online pharmacy shop, or never used to believe that you can order medicine from home, because you have certain sort of a feeling that you wanted to go to a pharmacy shop have a conversation with the chemist, understand what drug would actually work, and then you do not really have to buy it for a specific company. You can buy it for a company which has a similar ingredients or similar type of salt. So all these things are changing over a period of time. Now my father is very convenient in buying the medicine online, and he says that it actually saved the efforts, time, and you do not really have a fear of this pandemic which is going around. Similarly, I did an experiment with my grandmother when she was 75 years old. I gifted her Alexa on her birthday. So why I have gifted her Alexa on her birthday? Because we all used to travel a lot. We all were working, and she was alone at home. So I thought maybe Alexa could be a companion for her. So she started storing all her what you call friends' birthdays. She started storing all her medicine reminders. She started having all her favorite music in Alexa. And I have seen from having her one-to-one friend, which was an immediate neighbor, she was enjoying more of a digital friend, which is an Alexa. So you look at the technology actually makes the people to start adopting different other things very rapidly, which was not possible 20, 30 years down the lane. And if you look at what a phone took an adoption, so phone was adopted in 50 years, but whereas internet or smartphones have been adopted in less than 10 years. So that's the kind of a shift which we are living in. And robots gonna take up your job. Of course, there is a pros and con as well, because robots do not really have sentiments, emotion, and of course they do not really have a power to creativity. So you are safe on one hand. So but there are other things in terms of, if you look at if the robot's gonna take your jobs, it's a very tricky question, because in Amazon it has actually created a large number of jobs, because in warehouse the robots were able to move the goods from one place to another because of their working capacity of 24/7. But the large number of people were required in terms of putting the labels and in doing the smart ordering and in doing certain creative packaging, which was not possible with the robot. So robots have some certain pros and cons. One pros I definitely feel is that humans cannot work 24/7, wherein robots can work 24/7. And you do not require an energy to feed into a robot, wherein we require an energy. Of course, electricity is one of the source of an energy for them. So if you look at, would we be able to work together? The answer is yes, because we are more creative, we are better at decision making, we have superpowers in terms of physical world, we feel safe when we are emotionally connected, and we understand better each other, because we are the ones who are making solutions for the people by using technology in terms of robot, machine learning, or IoT. So this I would move forward, because this is not you would require in terms of job movement. The shift which is happening from sales office to management professionals, it's definitely significant. Millennials, as in the young population who is attending this webinar, are gonna take up the future and would become the creators of technology, would become the drivers of change, rather than the old population in 30, 35, 40 years of age group, or having a significant amount of experience. And look at it, the shift which is happening from manufacturing to services industry, the job lost is definitely significant in manufacturing, which is added to education, healthcare services, or hospitality, or various other sectors. And like I said, the workforce gonna be the millennial. Right now in our organization as well, the average age is 23, and there is a person who works with us, he's barely in 11th standard, and he has taught people on IoT, has built applications on IoT, and has won multiple hackathons. So when I was in 11th standard, I was least bothered about all these things. So this is the shift which we are witnessing in this point in time. And if I just quickly move forward, because I wanted to cover the main agenda of the topic, which is the technology of trust. So right now, the workforce is more educated, because you have the bachelor's degree. Now, let's not question that bachelor's degree is worth having it or not, because there are a lot of dropouts which are uh, doing significantly very well. And of course, they have better skills, because colleges keep you limited to the curriculum which they have. They do not really have the practical approach, wherein these other people who have dropped off wanted to learn with the practical skills. They learn by doing, they learn by participating in different hackathons like Hackjaipur. So remote work is picking up. In last 45 days, I have been able to uh, speak to 2,000, 3,000 plus people across the globe, where if I would have been doing in a physical environment, I would have to travel a lot, and my efficiency and productivity has increased. Like I said, that there are pros and cons, but on the other hand, you would need to have a visibility that is it the only person who is behind the camera, because there's a lot of questions which comes out in the market. Is, let's take an example. I am working for a company based out of US, but I'm only available to them when there is a meeting which is required. I'm not available to them when there is no meeting. I've hired an intern, or I've had a short term a professional who would work on these requirements of a company, and I'm only available when the meetings are required. So that's the question of remote working and the ethics which are being questioned, and hopefully India succeed in that. And we don't really know that what would happen when employees would not be 40 hours per week together, which is per week. They would not be able to sit along next to each other in a boardroom or for a white boardroom exercises. So online education is picking up. You know that in 2012 versus 2014, there has been a significant amount of growth. And if you look at MIT, MIT said in last 10 years, if we look at the online courses which we have been able to sell, we have not been able to sell in the physical environment. And Zooms and Skypes are all picking up. But these things are prevailing, or these things are becoming substantially very much towards our digital adoption. But there are certain challenges in terms of our data, in terms of our identity, in terms of the payment which is happening across the globe. Therefore, a technology called blockchain is an answer to all these things. So I wanted to cover certain things in a shift or a spectrum, where we first talk about the shift which is happening from physical to digital. Second, we talked about that what will be the challenges, what are the challenges around in India and across the globe in terms of hunger, poverty, bank account. Third is, with digital, lot of things are happening in terms of shift in technology services. The industries are uh, pivoting themselves or transforming themselves. But are we really prepared for our data? Are we really prepared for our privacy? Are we really prepared for the authenticity of the product or the authenticity of the goods which we are consuming? So data is the new oil. You have been reading about it, and these are the smart refrigerators which are coming up in the market, wherein they can detect that if the what you call a specific vegetable is about to finish, then they can order automatically to what you call a grocery company, and then they can deliver at your home basis your availability. So the impact has been very much felt. If you look at, just for your reference, Gangnam Style and Despacito, we all have watched the songs, and they have been able to cross the billion mark in less than 1 year. And if you look at the Bollywood movies, they have not been able to do it because of the large amount of visibility which they will not be able to capture across the globe. Hence, OTT platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime have a large amount of users and visibility. So gaming is also picking up. Like, we all are sitting at home, and we have started playing lot many games. And India at this point in time requires 46,000 game developers, and these are the skills which are not being taught in schools and colleges. So you have to stand apart from your competitors, you have to stand apart from the other players in the market. You have to learn skills which are relevant for an industry, and you never know that what will be the future of gaming. Possibly it will be AR VR combination. You are sitting in one room and you're playing with all across the globe users. And this is a kind of a smart car which is picking up with this design by Tesla. But all these things are for your reference, that look how technology is shifting over a period of time. But if the technology is shifting, that we have to shift as well. We have to be prepared. And if we have to be prepared, quickly on the identity hacks, in 2018 or 2019, I would say, Marriott 52 lakh people customer data has been hacked. What has happened to that data, we don't know. Possibly the hackers have used it to sign up on different websites or portal. We do not really have a visibility. We all check into a hotel. We all go to Oyos. We all go to Taj. We all go to Radisson. We provide our identity. We don't know what's going to happen to our identity once we have checked out from a hotel. So these questions, when it comes to my head, I have to find a solution in terms of a technology. Equifax hack. It's one of the largest credit rating company. Again, 180 million people identities has been compromised. Cambridge Analytica. This company has used people's data for political advertisements during Trump's election. Right now, we all provide our data to social medias like Twitter, Facebook, and other organizations during elections. We do not really know what's going to happen to our data. Would they be really used for campaigning? Would they really be used for some kind of a personal benefit to the organization or to the political party? So I usually ask this question: what is more valuable? Is it your phone or is it a data inside? So the answer to that is the data inside. But are we really concerned about the data? Are we really keeping it safe? Are we really what you call more having more awareness of keeping the data integrity, privacy, transparency in our control, because the data belongs to you? So I usually say that if you are going to a hospital, your hospital one is would actually pick up your pocket and try to gain large amount of money in terms of the treatment. Second is they would extract large amount of our data as well. And we are the ones who do not really go to one hospital or one doctor, because we go for our eye checkup, we go for our heart checkup, we go for our different checkups like dietitian, different other doctors, and each doctor is keeping our health record history. Similarly, we don't really have one bank account, we have different bank accounts. Each bank is keeping our data record or history. We do not really know what's happening to our data. So all these question comes in my head, and I am looking for a possible substantial solution in terms of a technology. Just a second. Similarly, like I was working in Google, but there's a tweet which I have screenshot is that her Google Docs account has been logged out. We don't really know what's going to happen to our drive, what's going to happen to the photos which we have uploaded. If you look at Arogya Setu, recently it has been downloaded a lot because in terms of pandemic, there has been large security issues. 90 million identities are at stake, which is close to 9 crore people are at stake. So if that's the kind of a privacy which we are talking about in using the application, then we don't really know what's going to happen as we start becoming more profound to a digital ecosystem. Credit card, debit card data was available on the dark web. So your 14-16 digit credit card number along with CVV was available on the dark web, if we know the Tor or the Onion network. And it was sold at $7, which is close to 500 rupees for your credit card, debit card detail. And if the details are already there on dark web, then the person can put the details and they can buy a prepaid subscriptions or premium subscriptions of LinkedIn's or the other what you call services which are available in the market. So if you look at history of computing, we have evolved from mainframes to smartphones, and now it's a time of blockchain. And each and everything we have so far talked about revolves around one major question, which is trust. Right now, we are trusting the centralized institution or organization, could be banks, could be companies like Facebook, Google, where we have our identity, where we have our transaction details, where we have each and everything which is available in the digital ecosystem. Now the trust is being questioned, because I am buying organic fruit and vegetable, I am buying a medicine, I am checking into a hotel with my identity, I am opening up a bank account, I am applying for a bank loan, and all this comes with a trust. And if trust is definitely prevailing, then these are the incidents which are happening. If you look at Lehman Brothers, if you look at Punjab National Bank fraud, one fine morning, 1.2 billion or $2 billion have been wiped off from a bank because there is one document which is letter of credit. We don't really have the authentic copy. Similarly, Yes Bank fiasco. And if I just quickly tell you about the NGOs, I used to work with a non-profit. So what happens? We are donating to NGOs and non-profit, but their founders possibly are taking the benefits. They possibly are buying the real estate or luxury commodities. You do not really have a track record whether the money which you are donating is going for a right set of use. So if you look at, there has been a trust decline in most of the NGOs, from government to media to business, and NGOs are also getting questioned in terms of trust, that where is the money going, because a lot of people tend to make money by setting up the NGOs. And this trust industry is not a small industry, it's a $100 trillion industry. That's the kind of a market which we are trying to look in. PNB case, we all know that what's happened. One fine day, $2 billion have been swiped off. And if you look at from the history, 1947, India got its independence, right? Right now, dollar price against the INR is about 76 rupees. When India got its independence, it was 8 rupees against the dollar. Over a period of time, inflation has picked up. Over a period of time, we have seen the size of dairy milk getting reduced. What is this? Because everyone has the cash, but the cash value or the value of the 2000 rupees, 500 rupees has been declined. We all know why demonetization has happened, because there was enough cash in the market and the government do not wanted to have enough cash, because if everyone has a cash, you do not really have a what you call a right value or a right price of a commodity which can be decided, because everyone has a capacity to buy it. So we have seen the size of dairy milk getting reduced. We have seen the dollar moving upwards over a period of time. And I have done my analysis. When dollar would reach about 125, 130, Indian economy would not survive. Indian economy would crash, because we do not really have much of a reserve. We do not really have much of in terms of keeping our financial instruments more what you call intact. So if this gonna happen, then your future is definitely in a wrong hands. And if the inflation is happening, the main reason is you do not really have the supply, what you call, you do not really have the fixed supply of the currency. Tomorrow there could be another possibility that the demonetization can happen once again, which is why when you don't really have a fixed supply of a currency, then you do not really have a control on where is this currency going on. And when you see a lot of Bollywood or Hollywood movies started coming in, then there is seriously a big question in terms of what's going to happen with our industries. And if you look at internet has been evolved from 1990s, but internet lacks the major problem is the lack of value. What do I mean by lack of value? Let's take an example. I'm giving a physical apple to Mayank. Mayank can see that I have given an apple. Mayank can see that Aman's balance is -1, Mayank's balance is +1. Mayank can see that Aman has actually transferred the apple to me. But if I'm giving you an apple in a digital world, how would you trust that this is the original apple? How would you trust that this is the authentic apple? How would you trust that this apple I have not actually screenshot or taken a picture or I've sent it to someone else? So these things are not there in internet, because you do not really have a control, or you do not really have a visibility on the value exchange which has happened. Which is why I'm saying in the digital ecosystem, if there are a lot of value exchange started happening, you would not really have a control on whether this product or this commodity is authentic, is transparent, is the original which I paid for, or is it the one which this person is transferring to me. So if you look at over a period of time, we have evolved from platform to sharing, and now it's a time to peer-to-peer economy. From platform economy, we have seen PayPal, Salesforce, or Facebook, which were these companies who have given us a platform. Sharing has been, we have looked at Uber, Funding Circle, Kickstarter, another model. I'm sure you look at the ads of Keto, Kickstarter, and other companies. If you're donating or transferring the money to people who wanted to take certain benefit of your money, how do we trust that this money is going in the right hand? Because they are the platforms who are taking some cut. We don't really know whether this is a real story. We don't really know whether our money would reach out to a right set of people or not. Wherein everyone is on the one common network, everyone can see it, what's happening around, and everyone can have a transparency. And the best part is it's immutable in nature. And like I said, over a period of time, we have evolved from barter to Bitcoin. So 1971, Bretton Woods conference, which has happened in that President Nixon has said your cash is not backed by gold anymore, and the countries can print the cash, what you call, depending upon the requirement. So you have earlier we used to do barter, and the barter actually failed because there was lack of value. If I'm giving you tomatoes, then how do you know that in return, if you're giving me potatoes or anything else, it actually has a right set of value exchange. So with Bitcoin, it is picking up the interest, one because of the price movement, second because of a lot of startups and ideas started coming in terms of ICOs, and the developer market started picking up. And if you look at the market size of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, right now it's $200 billion in market size. There are about 3,000 plus cryptocurrencies, 200 plus exchanges, close to about 46 lakhs traders, and out of which 31 lakhs in Europe. Total traders are about 4.5 crores, and India has about 46 lakhs of traders. So this is the kind of a growth which we are looking in the market, and it's gonna definitely pick up because as the adoption increases. Now the real question comes is how Bitcoin can actually solve, or cryptocurrency can actually solve the inflation. One, because you have a fixed supply which is not there in the cash. Second is you cannot double spend. One Bitcoin can be spent once because it has a record on a ledger. Second is you become the CEO of your own bank. You control your money rather than somebody else controls the money. So what is blockchain? Blockchain is nothing but a virtual computer that runs on the top of the network of physical computer, and it provides a strong, auditable, game theoretical guarantees that the code runs will continue to operate as designed. In a short or a nutshell, blockchain is like an Excel sheet. Imagine an Excel sheet which is being maintained in a family, wherein your father is writing how much money he is making, your mother is writing how much money she is giving to a maid, your brother is writing how much money he is making, your sister is writing that she's earning this much money and also giving this much money to driver, to a cleaning lady for groceries. So all of them maintains a record on an Excel sheet, and this Excel sheet is transferred from one generation to another. And when this Excel sheet is not controlled by anyone, it's actually captured by everyone who is a part of this network or who is present in that family. And this Excel sheet is transferred from one generation to another. So this is nothing but a blockchain. A blockchain is an immutable ledger where everyone can write, nobody can delete, and all the people who are there in the network or the participants can see what's going to happen or what's happening on the ledger. So right now, payment systems are centralized because you have to depend on banks, financial institution. But with distributed ledger technology of blockchain, you would have decentralized part of it, wherein each one will control their own transactions. Each one would actually control their own money rather than being dependent on what you call centralized institution. So there are certain pros and cons because these are siloed system. You have a central authority. These are corrupt, like we have looked at Kerala disaster relief fund, and the right now you have COVID fund as well. Again, at this point in time, we should not talk about the questions which Prime Minister has set up, the COVID fund. But this is not really under the CAG. It cannot be auditable. So we don't really know what's going to happen with the money which we are donating. So it's real time in nature. It's built in with the redundancy. It's distributed authority. Everyone can see what's happening on the ledger, and it's immutable. Nobody can delete that record. Similarly, the Excel sheet in your family, nobody can delete that record. So what is blockchain? It's a distributed ledger system or a database, and it's like a second revolution after the internet. What you call what internet did to communication or information, blockchain gonna do it for transaction or any exchange which is happening across the network. So treat blockchain as a train coaches, where you have the train seats number as a transaction, and each block will be coupled with a transaction in a cryptography, and each block is connected with each other through a hash function or cryptographical value. Similarly, your train coaches are connected with each other through a chain. So what are the components of a blockchain? It's immutable in nature. It has smart contracts. It's cryptographically secure. It has decentralized consensus. It is digital. It has digital assets. What do I mean by immutable? It's write once, you cannot delete. Smart contract is nothing but a vending machine. Suppose you are giving 10 rupees in a vending machine, you can have water, chips. So it's like an if and else condition. So you have a logic based execution contract which are called smart contract. Why do we have the adoption of a smart contract? Because it's decentralized in nature. Let's take an example. Mayank and I are betting on India will win against Australia. Mayank says that Australia will win against India. So if we have to trust each other, we have to bring a third person who can take a guarantee that Mayank will pay me money or I will pay Mayank money once any of us loses or wins. But we do not really require a third party. Hence, we put our conditions in a smart contract that if this happens, do this transaction, or if this happens, execute this transaction. So your money is deposited in a smart contract. Basis the code or basis the logic, the money will be transferred to a person whosoever gets the final result. And it's cryptographically secure because it has public private key signature technology. If you know Public-private key. Public key is nothing but a username. Private key is your signature. It has your consensus, which is the reward will be given to the network participants on validating or verifying the transaction. It has digital assets in terms of cryptocurrencies you can have on top of a network, which can be what you call a native currency of a project or an application. Let's take an example. In your hackathon, maybe you can build up a project that somebody cannot buy a complete ship, but they can buy a part ownership of a ship, which means they do not really have to spend multi-million dollars to buy a ship. They can buy a small amount of a ship, and then this can be given to multiple people who can afford it. Right now, you cannot buy a complete airline, but you can buy a part ownership of an airline. And if you have a part ownership, you would get a part revenue on the airline. Similarly, real estate. You cannot buy a complete, what you call an apartment, which is there in Burj Khalifa, but you can buy a part apartment. Similarly, in various other industries, you can have fractional transaction or fractional ownership. So once you have a fractional ownership, the fractional amount of a transfer or the assets which will be given to you. And this is only possible when you use digital assets, because digital assets are divisible up to 8 or 10 decimals. So these are the components or benefits of blockchain. And why it matters, because it enforces trust. You do not really have a single point of failure, and it's decentralized in nature, it's tamper proof, and it's cryptographically secure. Right now, if you look at the different industry use cases, it ranges from financial services, government, investment companies. Nowadays, investment companies like VCs can set up a digital asset token fund, which can be given to these startups working in blockchain industry. So you would really have a transparency that this fund is transferred to a startup. Similarly, in insurance as well, one of my favorite example is, let's take an example, Mayank and I. Mayank go to gym every day. Mayank exercise. Mayank eat healthy fruits and vegetables. And on the other hand, I do not really do any kind of an exercise and I eat junk. Why do Mayank and I pay the same health insurance premium? So you can have the specific what you call conditions. If you meet, then you have to pay the amount of a premium. Else you can pay the lesser amount of premium. Similarly, in non-profit organization, the money which you are donating or the money which you are transferring is going to the right organization for the right uses. So there are different other use cases in terms of trust, in terms of transparency, in terms of immutability of a blockchain, which is a network. So once you have all these things put on a ledger, then you can do an end-to-end tracking. You have a real-time visibility. Real estate registry. So just to give you a quick example, when I was 15 years of age, I used to ask my grandmother that my grandfather has given me a property. What happened to that property? She said somebody else has built a land or somebody else has built a property on top of it. So I was literally shocked that why somebody else has built a property on top of that. And then fast forward to 22, 23, she told me that the other person was having the same set of papers like what we were having. So these kind of a real estate registry tracking you do not really have, that who all were the previous owners, who all are the next owners. And when you put it on blockchain, you have 100% transparency from the first owner to second owner to third owner. And when the money is transferred, the smart contract can execute that the money has been transferred. Now this person who has bought the property, the registry is in his or her name. And if you look at in India, 66% of the Indian litigations are against the real estate. These are not the murder or crime cases, these are real estate cases. So if real estate cases are picking up, then you have a need of an hour in terms of solving through blockchain. Similarly, medical records, like I said, you do not really have a control of your medical records. As you travel from one solution or one doctor to another, it's like when a bee sits on a pollen, the bee actually extracts what you call honey. But when you try and engage with different other hospitals or healthcare providers, they try and extract your data. So with blockchain, the data will remain in your control, because blockchain lets you to control the identity and data or the medical records which you would be doing in transaction with hospitals or healthcare providers. And with this, you have the complete control in terms of your self-sovereign identity. So medical records is also biggest use case of blockchain. And I think India has done a pilot in a couple of states. One I know is in Udaipur. You can read more about it. Similarly, voting. How do we know that the vote we have casted for has actually been counted? With blockchain, you can do a voting from your mobile phones with the KYC that this is the person who is voting, and you can see that your vote has been counted because you have end-to-end visibility of a network. And the other thing is, when I'm going to vote, why do I have to show my complete Aadhaar card? I just have to prove that I have an Aadhaar card or I'm 18 years or above. So this is possible through zero knowledge proof, which is there in blockchain. You can read about it, which means you only have to provide an information that I have the right set of information, or I have the different attributes which is required to unlock the voting or any other transaction which I'm doing, rather than providing the complete information. So this is possible through zero knowledge proof. It's like when you and I are solving a puzzle, you do not have to disclose the complete solution of your puzzle that you have the right answer. Rather, you show that yes, I have the right answer to that puzzle instead of showing the complete answer. So this is how it works with zero knowledge proof. And the other question comes over here is, when should we use blockchain? So you have certain checks wherein, when there's a lot of a paper-based transaction, when you have a high fees for intermediary, when we talked about remittance industry, which is why Western Union or banks have the high fees for payment. And there's a lot of a trust question in terms of a participants. When you're buying organic fruits and vegetable, you trust Big Bazaar, you trust grocers, you trust Big Basket. So when there is a question of trust in the participants, then you should use blockchain. When there is a data consistency, so this is an assessment framework when you should blockchain, because blockchain is not a god. Blockchain is a technology which addresses to a certain problems in the market. The other big question is an education assessment or education record. So what's happening in India? A lot of people are graduating, but there are a lot of fake certificates as well. Like when I was applying to Google took about 15 days to verify my records, right? When I go and apply to Amazon, once again they would do the same process as well. Rather, if I have the document on blockchain offered by IIT or any other institution, and whenever I wanted to share it with any employer, they can see that this document or this education record is authentic, because blockchain is immutable in nature, it's tamper proof, and you have a transparency. And rather than sharing the complete data, you share the truth value of the certificate or the document which you have it. So this is another benefit in terms of using education certificates on blockchain, because in India, if you look at a lot of Indian students go abroad to study as well, and there are a lot of companies in India in terms of gray market companies in Nehru Place and other places who have the fake certificates, fake stamps, fake signature of directors. So this can be stopped when organization or institutions start issuing certificates on blockchain. And agri production as well, like if the tractor is not in a use, a farmer can share a tractor with other farmers in a local locality, and then he can earn some tokens basis the use of a tractor, because IoT device would be able to detect that this tractor has been used for about 12 hours, 14 hours, or for this purpose. Similarly, wine traceability, we don't really know what kind of original wine which we are buying. So we can have, at the manufacturing level, we can put the IMI code or barcode, which can be on a blockchain. And from manufacturer, it goes to a distributor, to a retailer. And then when you buy it from a shop, you can scan that code and it shows where all this wine comes from, and what is the expiry date or manufacturing date. And then you have an end-to-end traceability of wine. Similarly, you can do it for different products as well. One is pharmaceutical companies which can do it for drug traceability. Company IBM has done it for oranges and mangoes. They have put the carton of oranges and mangoes on blockchain, and somebody is buying a carton of oranges and mango, you can trace it that this is the organic fruit because of the certain conditions of weather, because of the certain conditions of soil. Similarly, extra energy produced on a solar panel can be reshared with the neighbors using blockchain technology, and in return, you can receive some cryptocurrency or digital asset. This is possible, and one of the companies in Australia is doing it. And what made me actually get into the crypto industry or blockchain industry is, one, I have told, my family property, somebody else built a piece of land. Second is the financial crisis, which we were having in 2009-10. And cross-border payment, like I said, the company which we were working with, they have sent $1,000 and we end up receiving 9820 dollars, and we have to pay $20, or $9920, I mean. the $80 were actually charged in terms of a fees. So all these things actually made me enter into crypto and blockchain. A lot of people ask me, is actually India blockchain ready? Yes or no, because India has close to 5,000 blockchain developers or people who are skilled to work in blockchain, and there is a need of an hour close to a lakh or 50,000 plus blockchain developers are required as per the report which is there. And we at Zubi are trying to upskill or reskill people on emerging technologies which are not being taught in schools and colleges. So we are starting out programs which are specific towards course and specific towards a career opportunity. So we are doing this through our various initiatives and capabilities. And of course, blockchain has seen a long way from ideation to prototype. And now I think we are in the stage of a pilot where a lot of organizations have started doing pilots in terms of identity, document, and payment. So blockchain, according to me, has three primarily use cases, not apart from the industry. Primarily use cases in terms of fundamental is identity, document, and payment. Whenever there is a question of an identity because of identity fraud, keeping the identity with the user, you should use a blockchain. Whenever there is a lot of a paper trail which is happening from one person to another, you can use blockchain. When you're looking for a real-time transactions, you can use blockchain, because with blockchain it's possible, and you have fixed supply in terms of cryptocurrency assets. And the shift is happening from a central player to a community-driven initiative. And we at Zubi has also set up a community which is for students, by students, of the students. So a network effect is gonna come into the play, and digital DNA is definitely shifting the focus of companies from physical transaction to digital transaction. When I say transaction, it does not mean only a bank transaction. It could be a company to company transaction, company to employees transaction, employees to different other retails or different other organization transaction. So the shift is happening at a significant pace, and exponential technology is gonna come in. And if you are not skilling yourself in time, then you will definitely be left out. Because like I said, 15 lakh engineers are graduating every year. 80% of them are unemployable. That's not what I'm saying. That you can read it on different resources and different media information as well. So that's all from my side. We have looked at the shift from physical to digital. We have looked at what are the questions in terms of digital technologies. Then we have talked about what blockchain has to offer in terms of trusting the trustless. Then we have looked at the different use cases in a blockchain. Of course, 1.5 hours is not really sufficient to talk about this technology. And that's all from my side. Open for any questions. Should you want to reach out, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and that's my email ID as well, aman@zubi.io. And one thing I totally believe in is technology changes, people stay in the same, and people behavior or people what you call interaction with technology definitely changes over a period of time. Thanks a lot, and I'm open for questions. Yeah, Varun, is there any question?
Hi, sir. Varun is asking, is the Zubi course paid?
So Zubi has couple of courses. The good question. So Zubi, you do not really have to pay anything upfront. You only pay once you land up in an internship or a full-time career opportunity. So Zubi courses are about for 3 weeks for internship and about 8 weeks for a full-time career. You do not have to pay anything upfront. You just have a prerequisite of a JavaScript, which you have to take an assessment. Once you have cleared an assessment, taken a test, and you clear that up, then you are free to do that course. And we only charge a certain amount of a stipend fees or a fixed amount once you land up in a high paid internship or once you land up in a paid internship. So to begin with, Zubi courses are not paid if you are looking to avail the courses.
Okay, that answers the question. And we have another question for Harshvardhan. What could be the roadmap to learn blockchain?
What could be the roadmap to learn blockchain? So for me, the intrinsic motivation was the curiosity. The roadmap to learn blockchain is, okay, first and foremost is a lot of people say that you have to read the Bitcoin white paper. I agree. Then first you have to understand the economics of how does money works, right? So like I talked briefly about barter to Bitcoin, you have to look at why barter failed. Then what are the challenges with the physical money, because you have the large amount of a supply of a physical money. and what are the challenges with digital money, because you have Visa who is trying to settle the transaction between an acquiring bank and a merchant bank. Then third comes is Bitcoin. Then you read what Bitcoin is solving in terms of the challenges which were there with the previous set of money. Once you have understood the working of a digital money in terms of the blockchain technology, then you can move further and understand Ethereum. Then you can go both in length and breadth. Length as in you understand the different platforms, Ethereum, Hyperledger, because you have public blockchain and private blockchain. Public blockchains are the ones which have the network of people who validate the transaction, where you see the miners are coming in. Private transactions are for companies because they would not be dependent on public blockchain because of the transaction visibility. So the roadmap would be to start with a paper on Bitcoin and then move further, learning about the different platform. I think there is a resource list in Zubi Telegram channel as well. If you wanted to sign up for that, then maybe we'll be able to share a specific resource list which we have prepared for the students who wanted to learn or get into the blockchain. Thanks, Harsh.
There's one more question from Rishabh. Are there any courses and webinars from blockchain?
There's lot. I mean, there's a lot of courses and webinars on blockchain. Of course, sky is the limit. It's been 5-6 years to the technology, like I said, and we have moved from a prototype or initial phase of learning to having the development, or what I was saying is having the products and services launch out in the market. So there are a lot. I don't really have any name which is coming out in the market at this point in time, but you can refer to A16Z. You can refer to uh, I mean, some of the courses on Coursera, edX as well. And if anything specific you want to learn, maybe I'll be able to provide you in terms of blockchain, because blockchain is like a giant ecosystem at this point in time. If you're learning about blockchain, it's like you have to be very specific what you are learning about. So if you have anything in mind, happy to share the specific resources as per your requirement. All right. So
Okay,
if there are no
so
questions, yes, please go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So that's for the AMA part, and I'm giving the certification link in the comments. Do check out and fill up the form. Also, thank you, sir, for joining us. It was a pleasure hosting you, and we really gained a lot of insights about blockchain, and surely the audience would learn from you.
Likewise. Thanks a lot, Mike. All the best for Hackathon. I look forward to looking at the different products and services or the ideas which people would be working on. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.